Welcome to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast, and I'm your host, Greg E. Hill, the Culture Change Agent. And today, before I kick off the fourth episode of this podcast, I just want to say a couple quick words. First, I would like to thank everybody who downloaded, subscribed, rated the podcast, because last week was phenomenal. We ranked as high as number 52 on the Society and Culture chart. The responses, the emails, the comments have been phenomenal. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And I appreciate it from the heart. I mean, it's been a dream come true. That's really all I'm going to say right now about it, but thank you. And also, for those that are you on iPhones or listening on via iTunes, please do me one favor at all. Please subscribe. Please review. And give us a 5-star rating. That really helps with the rankings, and I would really appreciate if you've done so. And feel free to share this episode, our previous episodes, the movement we're trying to build with anybody that could get value from what we're sharing. So that's my quick spiel, and let's get on to the episode. Before we start the show, I just want to have a tagline, because I'm really big on taglines. And the tagline for the Minority Entrepreneur and Trailblazers podcast is going to be something about changing the culture, because a lot of things need to be changed. And everybody's this interviewed is going to be on the grassroots level for that. So before we begin, what are we gonna do, Ashley? Because I got a special guest on the line. So what are we about to do? We're about to change the what?
Culture.
It's new word, but I just want to try it out. So let's get it started. I am incredibly excited to introduce today's guest, Ashley Williams. She's the founder and CEO, Ashley Michelle Williams, and she is the founder and CEO of Rizzarr Media. In addition to that, she's 25, multimedia journalist. She enjoys traveling the world and highlighting today's news coverage. Summer awards, I did a little background on it. I was like, these awards are crazy. 2011 Student Journalist of the Year from the National Association of Black Journalists. A Hart's Journalism Award nomination. USC's Outstanding Scholar Award. The Pat Tillman Scholarship for Black Journalists Association of Southern California. She's interned for NBC Nightly News, People Magazine, ABC Good Morning America, BBC. Golly. And before I let her talk, she's deeply driven and enthusiastic about persistently using journalism and social media to inform and inspire others to initiate positive changes within the world. So I'm going to hand the floor to Ashley. And so this is what I need you to do, Ashley. I need you to explain kind of who you are and what do you do, and kind of make it a little personal, all right?
Sure. So, hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Michelle Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Rizzarr, an inspirational social blog network for youth and young adults. And we're really targeting youth and young adults because I feel like there is definitely a lack of encouragement and inspiration for them in the world. And there's also a lack of a place where they can actually call it their own and use it on their own, and to really kind of connect and inspire each other. Rizzarr comes from the word Rizzarr in Spanish, which means to ripple. The concept behind Rizzarr is that we can help each other create our own ripple effects in the world through our stories and through our life experiences. And so by each of us sharing our own life experiences, we can then inspire each other to go out in the world and bring more positive change.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. And I know talk to more to that. I know you said on your bio, you're founder and CEO of Rizzarr Media, but what else do you do outside of that?
I'm also a multimedia journalist, and it's great because I've been able to really take a lot of the skills that I've learned from my own career into managing and operating Rizzarr, and it's also just some of my basic passions of writing and inspiration.
Got you. So, in this show, and for those who know me and those who don't, I'm a big quote guy. Like, I have a list of 100 friends and family I text every morning. I get up at like 4:30 a.m. I text them every morning a quote just to start the day and a rationale behind it. So I want to transfer that kind of energy and that kind of boost to the podcast. So, Ashley, if you have a quote, I would love to hear it from you, your favorite quote, and then give me a story about how you evolved this quote into your life.
There's this quote by Oprah Winfrey that I love, and it's use your life as a force for something that is bigger than yourself. And I love that quote so much because I feel like it is about how we all can use our lives to really create a bigger change or something bigger, that we're so small in this sense, but we can create something bigger by connecting with each other. Another quote that I like is by Steve Jobs. It's this long quote that was actually in the advertising for Apple. It's like, it talks about like, here's to the naysayers, the crazy ones, the misfits, all that stuff. And at the very end it says, because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. And I love that also, because I think sometimes you have to be crazy because there's so much chaos and negativity in the world, and you have to believe that you can bring change. And usually the people who really do believe it are the ones who do it. We just kind of have this thing within ourselves where we're doubting, or we are scared, or we feel like we're incapable, but together we really can.
I believe that 110%. So with the last quote, the Steve Jobs quote, because I'm a huge Steve Jobs fan as well. What could you kind of give me a story, or how do you apply, or how have you applied that quote to your life now?
Sure. Well, I think, I feel like I've always kind of been a little bit of an outcast in that sense, because I've always been happy-go-lucky and very like quirky and awkward, and it's still something that generates to me now. Like, I mean, I'm still like that same person, and when I was younger growing up, I always felt like I had to change who I was, that I was a misfit, but I had to kind of conform to how everybody else was. But I found now, and throughout my life, that being who I am is just fine in and of itself. And I want to encourage other youth and young adults to believe and to hold true to that you can be who you are. You don't have to change. And actually, it's who you are that makes you unique and brings something unique to the table for the world. So it just, it's really hard sometimes, because you usually, especially in the news industry, it's hard because most people are very like stern, or like they're hardcore, but you can definitely still be who you are. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree 110%. So to kind of give the viewers an overview of the show is going to have three key blocks, 3 key points. And the first one is who you are, and we're explaining kind of the business and the person that we're interviewing. The second transition is, how do you get there? Because a lot of times in the minority community, there's not a blueprint. Like, we don't have a dad or a mom that's a news reporter or an investor or a stocker a lot of times. So a lot of areas that we really want to go into or grow, we don't have the blueprint. So we're going to say, how do you get there, and walk through that journey. And the last transition will be, what's next? What's the future? Because everybody that's on the show has a lot of great projects, events, and things that they're doing in the future. And we're going to talk to that. So to kind of open it up, what made you start Rizzarr Media, and how did that whole creation come to part?
Well, I started Rizzarr because I really wanted to bring a change in the industry that I felt wasn't there. I felt like there were so many different places where you were getting content on young adults, but nothing where they were actually having a say or having a voice. There are so many different media outlets that wanted to target towards this market, but they weren't doing any content on them. Like, well, how can you target them, but you're not doing content on them? Or the content that you're doing is so negative that, I mean, we can get negative content every place left and right, but where's the positive place, and specifically for those two groups. And I just couldn't find one. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to create it then. And I love inspiration. And I mean, I'm not going to say it was an easy process to say, oh, I'm just going to create it. Cause I still had to, I knew that I wanted to do something focused on youth and young adults. Cause at a young age, when I was in high school, I had a TV show that focused on youth issues, like teen issues.
So you had a TV show in high school that focused on this?
Yeah, my high school, the school district, we had a television station, and I was lucky because this television station was located in my high school compared to our rival high school. And you could propose different TV shows that you wanted to do, and they approved me to do a show called Teen Issues Overrated. And we would have guests, like teens, come on the show, and doctors and things, and talk about different issues that teens were facing. And it was just cool to me because it was like, wow, you can really inspire people, or you can really talk about issues that we're going through, and we can all have a conversation, like a legit conversation on it. And I never forget that experience. And so I guess it just still carried with me, and I knew I always wanted, I knew I always wanted to do more news stories on that. But it was really hard in the industry though sometimes, because you're given an assignment to do, and that's your assignment. So it's hard to, skew towards that all the time. So with Rizzarr, I could really do that in my spare time and really focus on that.
Got you. So to take it one little tiny step back, Rizzarr is it's an online website, right? Where young adults or anybody, of course, but the demographic is young adults can go and look up anything as far as like what kind of topics do y'all cover?
Yeah, well, so right now we're actually in the process of creating a space where, we're a website right now, but in actual like the actual space where you can log in and have your own blog and talk. And
Wow.
then if you would like something that you posted on your blog that you post on your profile, if you wanted to actually be on the site, you can send it to us electronically through the system, and we can put it up for you.
Wow.
So it's basically just a place where they can have their own space. And if they want to get published, like I know for some people, it's hard for young adults and teens to get published different places. So we're going to really do our best to try to publish as many people as possible, because as long as the content's not derogatory or degrading, we'll publish it, because we feel like everybody has opinions and everybody wants to be inspired and that type of thing. So it's a great place to do so.
Got you. So and now, because you're like an interesting dynamic, because you're the founder of Rizzarr, but you still do day-to-day work in front on TV and in the news, and you're online. Like, so can you walk our audience through how did you get into the industry, and what drove you to that? Like what traits as a young person did say, oh, I want to be a news reporter, and how did you kind of get there?
Well, I feel like anything in life that you really want to do, you have to really be a go-getter for it. I know, like, sometimes, I even have my own insecurities. I think we all do about, what we're capable of doing. But I knew that it was something from high school of hosting shows that I really wanted to continue doing it. And so in college, I studied in college. But not to say you don't have to necessarily just study journalism in college. Nowadays, I feel like if a person can learn the traits of being a multimedia journalist, which is like editing and writing stories, making contacts, and putting stories together, anybody can really do it. And I think anybody can do anything you put your mind to do. But and then navigating that once I was in college to getting internships at like People Magazine or Good Morning America or BBC or CNN or whatever else, because I just wanted to learn as much as possible. And I also wanted to gain the skills needed to be successful in the business. But I definitely think having like that go-getter, perseverance driven attitude. Because it's always going to be hard even when you're in the newsrooms with people, because everybody has like their own personalities. And I also think it's hard for you personally because you're still developing in yourself and who you are and owning who you are. But within time, if you are just stay grounded and you really set goals of, hey, I want to work for this company or I want to do this, it makes it easy to navigate towards that. And thank God, I've been able to do many of the things that I've wanted to do, but I also think that you have to try. And I think so many people are scared to try because they're scared of failing. But sometimes failure actually redirects you to the place where you should be anyway. So I think that's
a great point. And I guess I slowly transitioned into our stage number 2, the how did you get there process. So let's delve a little deeper into, because you intern, these are huge companies. These are companies that anybody that has a television there's American knows about. Because step behind, what does that process look like? You said work hard, knew that, but specifically, if I want to get into work for USA Today or a BBC or a network like that, what are some actionable things that I can do today or within the next couple months to get there?
Well, I think definitely making connections with people who are there is a great thing. Like if maybe through like LinkedIn, connecting with someone who you see that works there, and then trying to, if there's a position that's available, like definitely first looking to see what's available at the company, and then maybe navigating towards LinkedIn to seeing who like works for that team or that department. And then I also think, just really developing your portfolio and your website and your social media like brand and who you are like as your brand really would help. But definitely calling people, trying to navigate who's in charge of hiring, navigating who the person of contact is to find out more about the team or the opportunity is probably the best way to go.
Like so basically the boil it down is 3 things. One, utilize the networks like LinkedIn. Like I think LinkedIn is a tool that a lot of people that are trying to get in the industry do not use enough. There's so many people on LinkedIn. You can send a message. Hey, how you doing? A quick sentence, introduce yourself, and find out more. And I guess the second way is look back at your brand, because if you want to work for a national brand, how do you look on Instagram? What are you posting on Twitter? Are you posting relevant information? Are you an influencer in those markets? Because do you really deserve to be on a national brand and work on those projects if you yourself, your own brand isn't accord? So I guess wherever you're at, whatever industry you're trying to get into, making sure that you fit the profile already. And I guess the third be any means possible. Because nowadays people don't cold call anymore, but I guess you can set yourself apart by sending those cold emails. A lot of emails are online for contact places, or sending those cold calls and making the extra effort. Is that what you kind of were getting at?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think most of the time, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've been afraid to cold call. It's kind of nerve-wracking a little bit. But, I mean, as a journalist, hey, that's what you do on a daily basis, right? I mean, you're calling these people, trying to get information from them. You have to be bold. You have to be, like, eager. And I think, the squeaky wheel does get the oil. So.
Oh, squeak wheel. I like that. I never heard that before. The squeak wheel get the oil. I ain't heard that. I know, dang, I'm all over the place now, but I really want to delve into, because I read your list of accomplishments and your awards. Amazing. You work for a lot of great networks, but let's put it in a fail, because we all fail at times. We all have big obstacles that we have to overcome. So could you give us our viewers and our audience a story of a time where not say you failed, or you had a big obstacle to your path to either starting Rizzarr Media or your path as a journalist, so we can kind of be at the ground level.
I just think, I mean,
I gotta get a story.
I want to say that for me, I think realizing your own path has been, I don't want to say it's like the failure part, but I think the growing part of it all, and that can sometimes make you feel like you're a failure, feel like realizing how your path is and navigating your path. Trying to think of going even from, working from different companies to working at other companies and navigating that and figuring out what I really wanted to do, and then figuring out like what I thought I wanted to do is not exactly what I really want to do. And I think that those are moments where everybody probably has felt like, oh my gosh, like, am I a failure because that's not what I want to do anymore? And I think that, I mean, for like, I know that seems kind of weird, but I mean, being a perfectionist in that way, I'm always a person to try to map out where I want to be or what I want to do. And then when things don't go the way I want them to, it's like, huh?
So what? Could you point to a time where a thing didn't go the way you thought it was going to go?
I think. I mean,
yeah, we know we're journalists right here. We know everything ain't smooth sailing. I need one time where you're like, what in the world happened? This is not how it's supposed to be.
I mean, I'm trying to think exactly. I mean, I'm sure there. I really can say to that really is just navigating. I mean, because I thought, like, for example, I had worked for, great, corporations and businesses and things like that, and then, wanted to take a step back for a moment to work on Rizzarr, and so I left the industry for a moment and was working on Rizzarr and, taking other steps that way. And I mean, I think, it's easy to think like, okay, what am I doing? Or like, navigating your process of trying to be who you are. But I think those are not failure moments. I don't know. I guess the reason why it's hard for me to answer this question is because I've come to realize that the moments that we consider to be our failures are not failures at all. If anything, they're like I said earlier, they're a redirection, because nothing in life is only a failure until you make it that, until you yourself perceive it as being that. Yes, we make mistakes, but if you hadn't made those mistakes, could you have become the person that you are today? Probably not. So you needed those moments where you're kind of navigating who you are, what you wanted to be. And I think those are great. And I think we should embrace failing more. Fail. Go out and fail. And I think it's fine because it's a redirection. And I don't know. I think that's why it's started, because over time I've come to realize that with those situations, like jumping from this corporation or this company to this company, and realizing, what I really wanted to do, and, feeling bad, like, well, gosh, I mean, am I bouncing too much? Like, am I trying to figure it out too much? No, you're really not, because you're developing in who you are, and you're becoming more of what you see yourself as being, and that's okay. You're not a failure in that sense.
Yeah, and this whole call and this whole podcast launched from a perceived, and I'm on your same boat. I don't believe in failure. Failure doesn't exist because failure is final. I mean, I don't understand. Right. But when I first came up with the idea of interviewing young minority entrepreneurs and trailblazers, at first I was going to do a show. I was going to film. I was going to do a show. I think I talked about it earlier. I was going to fly down the coast and go to different places and do a show. But I realized it wasn't going to happen. It was a hard pill to swallow, because I told 40 or 50 people, I'm like, I'm coming to Dallas. I'm going to interview you. We're going to talk. We're going to inspire and empower. This is a year ago. But then I realized, A, my budget wasn't going to be able to afford that. And B, it wasn't the most logical sense. So researching, saying, how can I get this message out to everybody else? I said, there's a thing called podcast.
That's
Nobody's
great.
really on podcasts.
That's
Let me
great.
see if I can go into that niche. And now, from the comforts of my own home, I get a chance to interview people like yourself who are accomplishing amazing things and export it to the world all in 10 minutes. So
That's
that's kind of
great.
a walkthrough on a failure. I was like, oh my goodness. Now my friend's going to be like, he doesn't want to do the show. What happened? What happened? And now I'm in a whole different industry, in a whole different space. So
That's great. And it led you to where you should be. I mean, which is the point too. Like, it got you to where you were supposed to be anyway, which is even better.
you're right about that. And I'm gonna have a couple more questions with the how do you get there, and then we're gonna ask you where you going. And
Sure.
if you could say, what do you think is the most common stumbling block for people trying to enter your field, and that is the field of journalism and mass communication? Because I know A&T, I attended North Carolina A&T State University, and there's a lot of people that are trying to get into the PR industry, but it's like they don't know how. They graduate and they're still trying to find it out. So what do you think is the most common stumbling block?
I think reaching out and networking. I mean, like I said, being the squeaky wheel, because it's very uncomfortable to do. And I've learned over time, my parents have always told me too, like the only thing someone can tell you is no. And even sometimes when they say no, sometimes if you try to talk to them enough, they may end up saying yes until they're just like final answer is no, So
That's
I mean,
powerful. That's powerful.
and I've never really thought about it. Like my dad really talks to me about that a lot, the power, of the no and rejection and all those things. But sometimes if you are squeaky wheel enough, sometimes you get what you want. And I think sometimes people are so scared to make those calls or, to really reach out to people or industries that they want to get into or to really, navigate finding someone to call. And if that person can't help you, then asking that person, well, can you direct me to another person who can help me? And that person can't help you. Can you, just keep doing it until you get to the place that you want to go to? Because I think most times in society now is that we get discouraged because we've heard so many times, or we feel like it's so impossible that we don't try. And when you don't try, then you're like years later, like, darn it, I wish I would have just, like knocking on that door like a little bit more. And I think really that is it from what I've seen, is just the knocking. I mean, because in college, it's not like I knew anybody in these, like my parents had no background in journalism. Like I'm a misfit in that sense. So I really didn't know anything about navigating the water, but I always remember what my dad told me. And so I would, find those numbers to those companies and say, can I speak to someone who's in charge of the interns? And I talked to the person in charge of the interns. And I mean, I know that was really bold to do.
Yeah, but that was bold. Like, God, NBC, I didn't call the intern. I need to speak to the head.
That was really bold to do. But I was like, I want it that bad, because if I don't want it that bad, someone else who wants it that bad is going to get my spot. And that's not going to work for me. And granted, sometimes I didn't get all the opportunities that I wanted, but eventually if I kept knocking hard, I remember the first time I applied to Good Morning America, the first year I didn't get it, but I applied again and I tried to use those same methods and I ended up getting it. So you just keep trying until you get what you want.
Wow.
If you really want it bad enough.
And this is not even on the script, but Good Morning America, how was that experience? I mean, I know you can't talk to, but how was that experience working on this is something that everybody in America watches, and even working on the set or working around that. How was that experience?
It was amazing in that sense. I mean, because it really, just to see how they put the show together, and then interacting with the people, the hosts or the anchors for the show was really interesting. And a lot of them are really, really nice. And, also getting the, background of how the show operates with the whole concept of people watching a show, like ratings and numbers and getting production and how they put every segment together. That was really interesting. And then sometimes I would, stay there for half of the night trying to get stuff going to help them with stuff on the air. But it was a good learning experience though. And I think it was valuable in the sense too of still navigating what do I really want to do, and who do I really want to be, and all those things.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, being that, like you said, you went to college, your parents had no background in PR, you had no inside connections, there was nobody saying, hey, here's this, and you just found a way by sheer determination. And the kind of
God's grace.
Indeed. And is there any resources, websites, or tools that could be helpful for somebody looking to get into that industry? Like, I mean,
the one thing I can say, I mean, I don't remember any particular tools. I mean, this is the thing that most people will probably encounter, right? They're going to be told, oh, make sure you apply online. And that's what I said. You can apply online, but also make sure that you follow with the person who's in charge, like find the person who's in charge. So you could say, hey, so and so. It's great to talk to you. My name blah blah blah. And I actually just applied online for the blah blah blah. And I was wondering if I could speak to you about my interest and how I could be good in this position, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't. That is I think how you can handle it. For gaining the skills more so, I'm trying to think. I mean, Poynter's really good. It's a Poynter University, I believe, at the Poynter Institute. I'm sorry, they have really good information on journals and things like navigating like the newsroom, production skills, writing, all that type of stuff. It's really good in terms of developing as a journalist. And I think they also give talks as well on like hiring or like career stuff too. So that's probably like the best place for them thinking of that comes to my head to navigate.
Okay, and that's Poynter what?
It's Poynter. It's Poynter Institute, I believe. I'm gonna check right now. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll put that
Poynter.org. Exactly.
I'll put that in the show notes. And now, so we're transitioning outside of the how do you get there. Now we're going to the where you're going, like what's next. And I want this focus to be kind of more so on Rizzarr Media, because that have a great Facebook following, have a great Twitter following. I really think that's on the edge of something special. So what new projects, events are you really excited about to share with our audience?
Well, like I said, I mean, we're in the process of developing this website and the new platform. So I'm really, really excited about that. And also just trying to get more partners with us to help us with like content producing and things like that is really up. And I mean, just really expanding, like marketing more and just getting the word out more that's what's up and coming. So,
and how are you balancing a career as a journalist and as founder and CEO of a company? You're not the only one. You're not a solo person. You have employees, you have people that contribute. How do you balance all that?
Yeah, I mean, we're all working full-time jobs, and I think it can be really hard. I'm not going to lie. It's very hard, and they will tell you the same thing, but we all are like encourage each other, and we have like weekly meetings, like for like half hour we talk about like the direction of the site, things we're working on, whatever else. And I think it is great because we all support each other. And, I just, take time out. I think anything that you really want to do, you will take time out to do if you put your mind to it. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I'm up late at night. Sometimes I wake up really early. But if you maintain a good schedule and I think a good regimen, you'll be able to maintain it. But I mean, it's a lot of work, though. I'm not going to lie.
Gotcha. And if you can, and this is, I know the next two questions are a little deep, but we just got to bring it there. So, if you could tell yourself anything from 10 years ago, like 10 years ago, 25 or 15-year-old Ashley Williams, what would you tell her?
I don't know. I was just thinking about that not the other day, but like a while ago, because Oprah did this magazine on her like younger self, and she wrote a letter to her younger 21 self. I think it was 20-year-old self.
Yeah, I need to read that.
Yeah, it was a great piece. I think what I would tell myself is to just believe. And if I believe whatever I believe and I want to do, I can do if you put your mind to it and don't worry about everyone else and what everybody else says, because when I was younger, like I said, I've always felt like a misfit. And even in high school, I felt sometimes like a misfit and.
And now you're on Good Morning America on the news. I'm like, it's crazy.
Well, but it's hard though, because everyone's telling you, making you feel like you're different, like it's weird to be different, or being who you are is not good. And I think I wish I could go back in time and tell myself, oh, don't worry about those people. Who cares? Because most of the people who are talking about you or those type of things, you don't even talk to anymore, or you don't even see anymore. So it's like, why did I care anyway? And just to really believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, the only thing that's really going to stop you, is if A, it's not in God's plans for you to do, but He has something better for you. B, it's your own self-doubt and your own fear.
That's huge. Like self-doubt and self-fear holds back so many people in society. And the sad thing about it, and it's a gift and a curse, because the gift is people like myself and yourself, we can start new industries and start new stuff, because the people that have, I'm not the most talented person, I'm not the smartest person, I'm not the most beautiful, good-looking person. Now, you probably could say the same things about yourself. Yeah. But the people that could be in these industries, could be a news reporter, could be a podcaster, could be an author, they're sitting on the sidelines because they're scared of being humiliated or fearing. So for all the viewers out there and the listeners, please take that into mind. I mean, you have to be vulnerable and put yourself out there to become the person that you already are. It's crazy. Like, we fight our whole life to become the person that we already are. Like,
well, I just think too, I mean, like we all make so many excuses for everything. Like I said, even with operating Rizzarr and getting incorporated, all these things. I mean, I don't know how to, running a business is really complicated. I mean, I have to read all these how-to books and this and that and whatever else, and then manage a team and then do all this other stuff. I mean, it's hard, but it's like, if I really want to do it, am I going to make an excuse for why I can't do it, or I'm going to try, And I just think the world would be such a different place if people, and I was talking to my friend about this, if people really went after doing the passions that are in their heart to do and not be scared to do them. I mean, it would be such a different place.
Yeah. So to wrap up this, kind of where you're going. So what, and this is a loaded question too, but
I'm sorry if I keep talking too much too. Sorry.
What type of legacy, and this is like, I felt uncomfortable even touching this, but what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? So when viewers 10 years, 20 years down the line, or you yourself, what is going to be the end goal or the legacy that you want to leave behind?
I think I want to be left behind as a normal person who had radical faith, who was eager and who had a passion to help young adults and youth. I mean, that's really it. It's just to inspire them is really it. And because I'm a normal person in the sense, it seemed impossible and capable of doing these things. But because of faith, I think you can do anything. And because of my passion for those two groups, I hope that they can then keep, generating that change.
And that's really special because we're kind of in the similar spaces in a sense. And the thing about serving and helping others is you never can stop. Like, there's always going to be somebody that's in need of help or inspiration or guidance or something.
Right.
Like money, there's always going to be more. Like, there's a cap. There's a cap on certain things, but serving people, there's never going to be enough people you can serve. So you're constantly hitting the grade, hitting the pavement, hitting the pound to inspire more people, to help more people, to learn more about yourself. So It's kind of like an ever-going quest. So I definitely can agree with that, and that's deep. So now we're gonna transition into our rapid answer round. I'm a very, very big person on Entrepreneurs on Fire, and they have it. And I was like, I have to have this on my show. Like, I love this. So I'm gonna ask you kind of a series of questions, and I want you to kind of give me fast answers, real quick, and we'll go from there. So the first question: what is the best piece of advice that you ever received?
Well, I mean, sorry, I wish I could have this off the top of my head. I don't think I've actually received it in that sense from someone. I mean, I've had.
So you don't receive advice. You've flawless.
A lot of good advice, but I think the one piece of thing that I've read that really stuck with me, as I take it as advice from Oprah, is the sense that sometimes being rejected is a redirection, or something like that. She says about when you're rejected, you're being redirected. And I love that because I think, like I was saying, so many times we take things that happen to us like, oh my gosh. But I mean, if Steve Jobs was never fired from Apple, we would never have Pixar, and he would have never come back to Apple and completely revolutionized it, So
that's crazy. The reason why there's Bug's Life, there's a Disney's Life, all this stuff, because he got fired.
Exactly.
What is one of your personal habits that you can attribute to the successes you had thus far?
I try to keep God first.
That's
Definitely.
That's simple. What is your favorite book and why?
The Art of Nonconformity, Set Your Own Rules and Live the Life You Love, by Chris Guillebeau. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but he's an amazing author, and I think the book is perfect for anyone who's really trying to navigate what they want to do in life and the impact that they want to create on the world.
And what is the book called again?
The Art of Nonconformity is the basic headline, and it says, set your own rules and live the life.
And if you were the president of the United States, what would be the first thing you do?
I would find a way to get rid of those freaking student loans, and I think also poverty, because I feel like if there's one Latin American country, I want to say Peru, but I don't want to say if that's not the correct one, but there is one where there is no poverty at all. Like whenever a person is on the street, they take the person, like people help with that. And I think we can overcome poverty and all these other things with education, all these other things if we work together collectively and really try.
Now we're going to go to our last question, and you can take as much time as you want to answer this. And it's basically like if you had one wish, right? And you could change one thing about society, and more specifically, the African American culture, what would it be and why?
I wish that we would believe in ourselves more and what we're capable of doing. And I think that is a huge part of why, people don't go after their dreams is because they don't believe in themselves. And I think that needs to really, 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 really change, because that is the core of how we can change the world. If people really start believing that they can do anything, and they will really try to do anything. But over time, we've been told no so much, or with slavery and those type of things, it's hard for us to, break those barriers sometimes, because it's hard, because there's racism that still exists. There's all these different things that still exist. But I believe that if we keep trying, that we can do anything. So
yeah, that's deep. And most importantly, kind of like what you do, what I do, and what the people that are going to be coming on this show, not only are we voicing that we like people to believe, but we're actually acting on it. We're not just people that's online and having all these things to say, but how much are you doing for your community? How much?
And just don't have an apathetic attitude. Like really, with believing yourself, going out there and being like, okay, like you said, trying, doing something, not just taking things as they are.
Got you. So we're approaching the near end of the show. So I wanted to kind of have from everything that we talked about and whatnot, if you had your last piece of advice that you would like to give to the listeners, what would it be?
I would first say to really love themselves and who they are. I think that's amazing gift to have, and if you can hone on that will take you throughout anything in every circumstance that you go through life, and it'll help you to know that regardless of anything that you go through, you can still become the person that you were called to be, and you can still use your life to change the world, and just to know that you have purpose here and there's a reason that you're here. And if you can discover that and use your passions to fulfill that, then you will have done a very good thing.
Thank you on behalf of our listeners, on behalf of me, on behalf of everybody, for giving your time, 45 minutes to an hour of your time to talk to our listeners, to talk to me, and to share your journey and some of the things you're working on. So I definitely appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and it's been such a pleasure and such a blast.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a humbling experience to be able to be on here and to, share my story with you. I really appreciate it.
Nah, no problem. This is just the first season, so hopefully we can have you back in the next couple seasons once the platform is ready, and then by then I'll have to go through your assistant to contact you. But
no.
So before we end though, how can people get in contact with you? And your contact as well as Rizzarr, like how can people find you? Where can they find you at?
Sure. Well, I have my own personal website, and it has for my journalism career stuff, and there's a portal that you can connect with me through there. It'll come to me, or there's another way through just emailing me at ashleymw@Rizzarr. That's RIZ like in zebra, Z like in zebra, ARR.com.
Okay. So they can reach you on your, and what's the name of your website?
It's ashleymwilliams.com.
So they can reach you at either ashleymwilliams.com, and there's a contact button where they can send you an email or any questions or whatnot. But they can also reach you at Rizzarr Media and www, and quote me if I'm wrong, RIZZARR.com.
Yes. Yep, it's Rizzarr Inc. Rizzarr.com. Exactly.
Well, Ashley, like I said, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. This has been an amazing experience. 35 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't know how long it is, but it's been a great show. I think they had a lot of actionable advice to take off, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Great. Thanks so much for having me again.
And to wrap it all up, you know how I like to end it. And before I end it, I gotta plug the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, you rate, you review. Please do. And for more information, you can visit www.greggyhill.com/podcast. Holla at me on Instagram at Greggy Hill. Holla at me on Twitter at Greggy Hill. Send me an email, minoritytrailblazer@gmail.com, and let's keep this movement rolling. So, like we always end it, like we always end it, I just need you to do one thing tomorrow. What is that one thing, Mr. Hill? Change.